Hi, good day. Ira Miskin with your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, the Miskin team, along with.
Stephanie Miskin on a gorgeous day here in Marietta, Georgia.
Um, this is for us. This is a real interesting time because we're right now in the middle of a marketplace that has so many things going on, and it's so different than anything that we had experienced earlier. For those of you who have not joined in on this podcast before, we just want to give you a little bit of history about who we are, where we come from, what we've done, so you kind of get an idea of when we talk about all kinds of things, we've actually really experienced it. Steph, why don't you tell a little bit about our history, where we came from, and how we got here?
Yeah, so we originally we grew up in New York City and ended up in Chicago for work and lived there for a good 10 years and it was a wonderful place, but it was really, really cold. And then got another opportunity to come to Georgia, and that was in the early 80s. And I came home one day and said, "Hey, we're going to move to Atlanta." And I was like, "Oh my, where is it? I think it's on top of Florida somewhere." So we came out here and we ended up living, we bought a house out here in Marietta, Georgia, which was pretty rural at that time.
Yeah, it was
Um,
a real adventure because we were city kids. I mean, we grew up right in the middle of New York City and we lived right in the middle of Chicago. And so if you had a tree, it was one tree and it might even be the only tree on the block. And here we are out in the suburbs. And oh my God, trees, grass, bugs, squirrels. Oh my gosh.
and it was pretty, at that point in time, it was pretty rural. I mean, it was Sandy Plains Road was the main road to our house, and it was a one-lane road, and there was one supermarket out here. It was Piggly Wiggly. There wasn't much else out here, but we ended up out here because I needed a house with a basement because we had dogs, show dogs, and I needed a real basement. So anyway, we that's how we kind of ended up out here in Marietta, and we've seen a huge change in it in the past years that we've been living here.
Yeah. It's gone from being what was for us a little cowpoke town to really a very cosmopolitan center. Just like Atlanta. I don't know if you think of Atlanta, 30 years ago, Atlanta was still a small city. Today, it is as big and as cosmopolitan and as varied and as just amazing a city as any place literally in the world. It's not a little southern town anymore. It's a center, and it's the center of the southeast. And we really grew to appreciate that because of all of the wonderful things that both were already as part of living in Atlanta and all of the new wonderful things that have occurred. But just as part of what you know about us over time, we got into the real estate business primarily through building new home construction houses. They were vacation homes in far western North Carolina, mountain homes, and we developed small subdivisions and just had a really good time building houses for people who wanted to come to the South, live in the mountains, and who were coming here from what we call the flatlands, from out in the Midwest and places,
Florida.
Florida, places where they had no hills and no fun, and um, so we did that for about 12 or 13 years. And Stephanie was not in the real estate business at the time, but I needed somebody who could actually sell the houses that we were building. And so one day I came home and I said,
We need a real estate agent. And I was like, oh my, I guess that's me, huh? So off I went to real estate school and got my real estate license, and decided, okay, so now I have my license. Big deal. I don't know how to sell a house. So I said, okay. So my children were pretty small at the time. So I went and found the closest real estate brokerage that I could find, and it was Harry Norman. And I joined up, and I had no idea what I was doing, but I ended up being really good at it. And um, it was very different back then. You know, we had very little use of computers and everything was still very hands on. Um, you know, there was really no database to speak of, but I sold lots and lots of houses with sticky notes. And to this day, some of the people that I sold houses to way back when in my first years are still my friends. And you know, I've watched their children grow up, and so that's the part of the business that I'm really good at, which is really getting to know people, understand their needs and their wants, and relating to them.
Yeah, and when you've been around in the business long enough, it's really fun when you're starting to sell houses to the children of the people we sold houses to. Said, "Oh, she was 3 years old when we sold her house, and now she's married and they have a family of their own, and they want to have their own home." And it becomes a generational kind of relationship. But part of what we do and part of what we enjoy so much is being able to get out and get around to all of the towns and cities that surround us and learn all the nifty things that are going on that really make not just living in the Southeast and living in Metro Atlanta so attractive, but make living in some of the individual towns so attractive. And one of them, of course, is Marietta, which is where we first came to and which we have stayed all these years. Because in the South and in the towns, they have this really wonderful thing. It's called a town square. And it's not just a place where you get in and you drive around to get from one side of the town to the other. It's actually a location where it's the center of the town, but it also is the center of all kinds of wonderful events that draw people together and make living out here just such a wonderful experience. And there's just so many wonderful things that occur in Marietta, for example, that we're going to talk about this week, and events on the square. And Stephanie has in years past been a participant in a lot of them. And Steph's going to give you a little briefing on all the cool things that you can experience when you're out here.
Yeah, the Marietta Square and that whole area is very interesting. First of all surrounding the square are all these antebellum homes that were not destroyed during the Civil War, and so there's some gorgeous architecture and historical homes that, you know, it's a very easy walking area, so you can walk and enjoy all this great architecture. As you get into the square, there's all kinds of stuff that goes on in the square all year long. My past my past life, I was an artist, so there's some wonderful art fairs that go on there all year long. There's the Strand Theater, which has great productions. There's great restaurants, lots of galleries. And one thing I wanted to tell you about is that the first Friday of every single month, they have something called the Marietta Square Art Walk. And what that is it's free. It goes on from 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock, and the square, all the galleries are open. There are pop-up artists all around the square. There's stuff for the kids to do. There's food, there's beverages, and it's just a great place to go, you know, grab some friends and walk around the square. And especially now that the weather's getting really nice, it's a wonderful thing to do. Every weekend, now that the weather is warm, there's a farmer's market. There are also artisans that have booths there. So that's just a few of the things that are going on there on an ongoing basis. Not too far from the square is the Jim R. Miller Park. And I wanted to tell you about something else that's coming up in there, which is towards the end of March. It's March 21st to the 23rd. And what it is, it's the Georgia Food and Wine Festival, and it's going to be great. There's going to be all kinds of food vendors. There's barbecue on Friday. There's going to be wine and beer, crafts, music, things for the kids to do. So that is going to come up towards the end of March. But that's just a few things that are going on, and it's a very vibrant area, and it's growing every single day.
Yeah, and if you just happen not to like food and wine and you want to go to that park, they have a rodeo.
Yes, that's true. They have a state fair there too. I think they do the state fair there too, and a rodeo. We took the kids to the rodeo once. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah. And it's when we talk to people that they're thinking about buying a home and um, they're not sure where exactly they want to be. Um, they know that there are things that are important to them, like they want to be in an area if they have children where the schools are good. They want to be in an area where there's plenty of shopping. They want to be in an area where there's events, where there's some things that are fun to do. On a Friday night, you can go out and have a good cheap meal at a nifty restaurant. Um, just be someplace where there's more than just, oh, well, I come home from my house. And so part of what we do is we really think through when folks have an idea of what it is that they would like to experience where they live, because you just don't want to come home to your house. You can do that any place you rent. If you're going to own a home, you really want to come home to some place that you really enjoy, be in an area that is really both convenient and pleasing, and also be around people that are like-minded and have the advantage of being able to take advantage of some of the best schools in the state of Georgia when you're up in this neck of the woods. So all of those things are the kinds of things that when we're helping people make decisions about where should I go, not just how much should I pay, but once I'm there, what's going to be the advantage of me being there. Those are things that are really important that we want to discover before we even talk about, where to find a house and how much a house costs and all of the things that you need to know, particularly if you're a first time home buyer. But even if you've bought 3, 4, 5 homes and you haven't bought a house in the last couple of 2, 3 years, it's amazing how much the business of buying and selling homes evolves and changes based on economy and based on banks and based on people trends. So, just a lot of things that you want to know about and that we enjoy telling people about. And we spend a lot of time learning so that we're a pretty good book of information about those kind of things. One of the things that we know that's really important is the planning that you need to do when you're going to make a decision about buying or selling a home. And, you know, 40, 50, 60 years ago, it looked like people never planned. What happened was people would walk into your little brokerage shop, usually on a street that everybody walked up and down, or they bumped into you because they sat 2 rows away in church and said, "Hey, Ira, you know what? We're ready to buy a house." And you'd take them out and you'd show them 5 houses and they would buy one. It was as simple as that. That's not at all the way the world is today, because the world is made up of mostly connections to the internet. How do you find a house? Well, I just look on Google and I look on Zillow. All of the places where you can look and find and pre shop and think. But then you get to the point where you really have to now become part of the system and the process. And you need the guidance and you need the expertise and you need the people around you to make sure that all of the steps in what is now a very complex process are taken and turned correctly so that you have certainty in the process. There's no surprises. There's no, oh, whoops, I forgot, but certainty. And um, a lot of that is really spending time learning about the needs of people. And that's something that Stephanie has learned and that she's really become very good at over the years is both she doing it and training the agents that are part of our team and our brokerage to really understand that what we do is what we call second mile service, right, Stephanie?
Yes, it's very important. Buying a house is probably one of the most stressful situations that an individual can undertake. So we really spend a lot of time walking our clients through it, holding their hands, helping them when it becomes really stressful, understanding the situation, it's really probably the most expensive transaction that an individual makes in their lifetime. So there has to be a really good working relationship with the agent and the client. There has to be total trust and understanding of what their needs are, what their personality is like. We spend a lot of time training our agents on understanding different personality types, because there are basically four different personality types and they're very different. And you want to understand what the personality type is of the client so that you can help them in a manner that is the most comfortable to them and the best way to communicate with them. And so those are just some of the things that I, as a team leader, spend a lot of time working with my agents to understand so they can better help their clients.
Yeah. And when you're shopping for a real estate agent, wherever you are, and there are people that are watching this that might be in Arizona right now, or they might be in, Phoenix, they might be in Las Vegas, they might be in Chicago. The process is still basically the same. What you need to do is you need to determine not just who is going to help you because they're nice and they comb their hair well or they smile a lot, but you need to really look at how to put together a team of people that are going to help you to accomplish what you're going to need to do, whether it's buying or selling a home. Because there are attorneys involved, there are home inspectors involved, there are lenders involved, there are repair companies involved, there's personal and title insurance companies involved. God, there's the states that are involved. All of these things are real important, and there are people typically who deal with each of those individual things, and you don't want to haphazardly have to go out and shop for everything. So, when you're considering buying or selling a home, the number one thing that you want to consider when you take that first step is looking for an advisor, an agent, a realtor, depending on what they, where you are, that is either a key part of a team or has a team, so that all of these important people that represent all of these important elements are all part of a group. They work together and they work clearly and very specifically with you, because I cannot tell you how many times we have seen in other sales where a sale gets right up to the day before the sale, and then the title company or the closing attorney says, "Oh, whoops, gee, we haven't cleared the title," meaning there's not a good way for the current owner to transfer the ownership title to you, the new owner, legally, and buy insurance to ensure that that's a good transfer. And they said, "Well, I guess it's going to take us a couple of days, a couple of weeks." And everybody's packed up and they're all ready to move, and it's turmoil. Whereas when you work with an agent or a representative that has a team around them with all of the key players who work consistently with them, they go through a checklist with timelines and they make sure that every step is taken care of, so that what you experience is what we call the smooth on time closing. Because then when we all come to that title office or that closing attorney's office, we're showing up with, right, Stephanie, flowers, a bottle of wine, keys, a smile, a hug, right? And we've had some pretty fun experiences with people over the years in doing that. Um, uh, remember, remember the folks, the folks that he was retiring from the military, and they were going to be moving here from Texas, and they didn't have the first clue what they wanted, but they said they wanted a ranch.
Right. Yes.
Tell folks a little bit about your experience and how you had to help them buy a house that they never saw until the day before it closed.
Yeah, they were interesting. So they were moving from Texas because they wanted to be close to her sister who lived out someplace around Canton. And she said, I need a ranch. I absolutely need a ranch because I have very bad arthritis and I can't handle the stairs. I said, okay. So they came out here once and we met and we went and looked at properties and kind of sort of narrowed down the area, kind of sort of narrowed down um, what they wanted, and then they went back and they said, okay, because I helped them get a real estate agent in Texas to sell their house in Texas. So now their house is on the market in Texas. We've met, we have an idea of what they want. And they said, okay, Steph, go find us a house. I'm like, okay. So I went out and found a couple of different houses that I thought would suit their needs. And I sent it to them. And they really liked one particular home in a new home construction um, subdivision.
And you were sending them videos and you were sending them pictures of
Right,
these houses.
right. And so they come and we go out and we go look at the house and they really like the house and they're ready to write a contract on the house. And the husband decides he wants to go into the house across the street. It was a new house, new home construction or whatever. But it was a two-story house. It was not a ranch, and it did not have a master on the main or anything like that. And so he comes back in, and we're getting ready to write an offer, and he goes, I really like that house. I want that house across the street." And I'm like, okay, well, we've now spent all of this time looking at ranches, and this is not a ranch. So let's bring your wife over there and see what she thinks about this. So I went over there. We went over there together and we looked at the house. And lo and behold, she said, I really like this house. I really want this house. I'm like, okay, if
And the
that's the
reason,
story.
remember, the reason that she liked the house is because they had a master bedroom that was the size of a football field.
Right. And it was a very big master bedroom. And the other thing was she needed a lot of closet space because this woman had some inordinate amount of shoes. And I kept saying, well, maybe you need to donate some of your shoes. But she needed a really big closet. So it had a really big closet, had a really big master, and they ended up writing a contract and bought that home. So when when I coach agents and they say to me, I don't know, they're all over the place. I always tell them that story about, listen, you're never going to know what's going to happen with a buyer, and you just have to be flexible and make sure that this is what they want. Okay, because ultimately they're going to be the ones living in the house. So even though I spent all that time showing them ranches, she ended up with a two-story and they loved it. They were very happy with it.
Yep. But see, one of the things that's important is when you create an air of certainty in helping people, you do that and you want to have that. Whomever you're going to work with, wherever you are in the country, you want to work with a team that can guarantee their performance and guarantee your satisfaction. I mean, guarantees are really important. It's like you buy a toaster, comes with a warranty. The toaster breaks in a month, you send it back, you get another one. Buy a car, it comes with a warranty and a guarantee. You buy a house, it comes with nothing. So we developed, and we've developed this, and we do this in the brokerages that we assist all over the United States. Something that makes your home sold guaranteed realty, and what we do special and sets us apart for home buyers. We give them a guarantee. We call it our Love Your Home Guarantee, which is anytime in the first 24 months, if for any reason you can't keep this home or you don't like what you purchased or you've got to move to the other side of town for a job, for whatever reason, if you want to sell that home and buy another, we will either buy that home back from you or sell it for free, which saves our buyers thousands and thousands of dollars, which helps them to buy the next home and move. And it doesn't happen that often, but just having that guarantee, knowing that if you buy a house and for any reason there's an issue that means you can't or don't want to stay there, you have that certainty that's pretty amazing. And it works, right? It worked for a couple that we've now helped buy any number of houses that started out with husband and wife blended family and had one child. And we helped them buy a house and they were never going to buy another house, right? And then what happened, Steph?
Yeah, they were never going to have any more kids, too.
That's right. That's why they weren't going to buy
We
a
have
house.
enough. We have plenty of kids. We don't need any more kids. And somewhere about, I don't know, 16 months or something like that after they were in the house, they called us up and said, "Hey, you remember that warranty guarantee thing you told us about when you sold us this house? That you'd sell it for free from the first 24 months." And we're like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Well, are you still doing that?" And we said, "Yes, of course. What's the issue?" The issue was we're pregnant. And not only are we pregnant, we're pregnant with twins. So
So the three
there's
bedroom, two bath
no
house
way
just
we're going
didn't
to fit
work,
in
right?
this house.
Yeah.
Yes. So we went in and sold the house for them and got them into another house.
Yeah. And what it did was it gave them an additional $10,000 because of the savings that they were able to use to buy that bigger house to put the down payment on that home and not have any change in what their monthly expenses were and be able to really pick and choose the house they wanted and not be stuck and trapped and just take the cheapest house they could find, which was very important because with kids and schools and location and which is why they picked the first house is what they were so important to them about schools. Having that guarantee is just absolutely essential to help people really have that sense of certainty that the decision they've made, they're not trapped in that decision. And that's something that you'll want to look at is when you work with any real estate group, any team, any agent, you want to ask them what guarantees you have. You actually, um, there's a whole group of questions that, and if you would like a copy of those questions, at the end, we'll tell you how you can contact us and we can send you these questions. But there's a whole group of questions and there's a whole group of selection factors that you want to be able to ask anybody that might be the person that's going to help you make this really big financial transaction occur to make sure that they really have the experience and they have the desire to be able to help you to achieve what you want. I'll give you just two examples, okay? If you just ask a simple question like, hey, how many homes are you currently marketing? Okay, a really successful top producing team, they're going to be much more effective at managing a variety of homes to sell and helping a variety of buyers at the same time and have helped a great many buyers because the marketing of a home, the knowing of what it is that are the benefits to your buyer in purchasing a home. Because, I need 4 bedrooms and I need 3 bathrooms and I need a basement. Great. Those are features. But what are the benefits of owning that home? Have a big level backyard with a fence so my dog can run around. Benefit. Um, it's less than 5 minutes away from all of the necessary grocery and personal shopping that I need, and I need to be able to get there because I've got 3 kids and I don't have the time to run and go shopping. Benefit. Um, the house has a completely upgraded kitchen with a wonderful pantry and extra space for storage. Benefit. Um, there's a great community association that does all kinds of wonderful things, pool parties and adventure parties and Halloween parties for kids. Benefits. You see, so you want to be able to ask the kind of questions to find out what your agents know about the selling and buying process, about the location, how often have they done this, how many people have they helped to do this. Very important so that you know when you're starting a relationship with somebody who's going to help you to buy or sell a three or four or five or 600 or $700,000 home, that they have the confidence and the experience to help you so that you can have the confidence in the experience. Really, really important. Steph, anything that you'd like to kind of follow up or conclude on as we get to the end of this chat today with folks?
No, I think that I just wanted to say that, we are available to chat with you, either in person because we actually do have an office because we are still old school about having brick and mortar. So, it's free, no cost, no obligation. If you want to, if you have some questions on how to find the right agent or areas, how to find the right area, or what do you know about schools, any of those things, we're available to chat with you. It's free, no cost, no obligation, and we'd love to help you if you need it.
Yep. And so you can reach us if you want to reach us online. You can reach us through our website, which is www.themiskinteam.com. Or you can call us or text us at the office, which is 770-672-7832. And we will be there along with the folks on our team and the specialists to be able to answer any questions you have, whether you're thinking about buying or selling in the next 3 days or in the next 3 years. Timing, planning, and your needs, and that's what we're all about. So I wanted to thank you for tuning in today. Steph?
Yep. Thanks for taking the time, and we hope you enjoy the day and the week ahead.
And we hope one day we'll see you at Marietta Square.
Yeah, try to get there for that. It's the first Friday of every month, free from 5 to 9 for the art walk that I was telling you about. It's a lot of fun.
Yep. And see you next time.
Have a great evening.